Hi, I'm Dr. Dranitsaris with today's episode of Relationships Live featuring the ENFP. That's the extroverted, intuitive feeling and perceiving in the Myers-Briggs language. We're hosting Relationship Empowerment Month, bringing you insights and tips for each of the 16 personality types and the 8 striving styles. As you'll see by tuning into each episode, no two personality types are alike. But when we understand what drives the behavior of each of the styles, how they bond, how they romance, you're more likely to have successful relationships. Makes sense, right? When we think that other people are different than we are, what drives their behavior, we're more in control. So by tuning into each episode, you understand not only what drives the behavior of each of the styles, how they bond, how they romance, you'll also benefit from understanding why you behave the way you do in relationships. ENFPs are known for being warm, enthusiastic, spontaneous, and imaginative. And having a relationship with them can be exciting and fulfilling, but it comes with its own set of challenges. People are often accused of taking up too much space, being too much, or needing to be the center of attention, often not in a very nice way. But they're the most expansive of all of the personality types because they operate from that extroverted intuition, creating possibilities, taking something that is and magnifying it 1,000%. And so they just don't feel their feelings, they perform them. When their audience feeds their energy, they're unstoppable in how long they can go, especially if they're having fun and entertaining other people. So here's a few things for you to know about the ENFPs before we go into some of the unique challenges of having a relationship with them. If you're in a relationship with an ENFP, you're aware of how they invite you into what we've called their magical palace of playfulness or possibilities or performance. But playfulness really nails it down. These people make even theoretical discussions so much fun. And I'll attest to that because I have a friend of mine where we play for hours talking about different theories. But this is their idealized world of fun and adventure where anything is possible. And as easily as they will play, these people will also just as easily get bored. And it's like it happens in a blink of an eye. They'll get bored with what they're doing, what you're saying, and they'll start complaining. It's sort of like they run out of steam, like a child worn out by a day at Disneyland, and they become emotional, hypersensitive to criticism, and they've been known to cry for days over a perceived slight. It can be so very challenging if you're someone who needs consistency and predictability, because when you're in a relationship with an ENFP, you better hold on to your hat and keep both feet on the ground because you are going to be going along for their ride. ENFPs love the idea of having relationships, and they can be very effective at flirting and the art of seduction. It's play, it's adult play, because after all, they're performers. The generous ENFP wants to dress, impress, and have success, showing up at the best restaurant, dressed to the nines, being the envy of everyone. When romancing them, or when they're romancing you, no gift is too small, no gesture too grand. If they don't get the recognition they're going for, because that's their predominant need, to be recognized. If they don't get it, what they're going for with their romantic productions, emotional meltdowns are often the result of a disappointed ENFP. But they don't tell you they're disappointed. They will perform whatever it is they're feeling. The ENFP spends a lot of time thinking about their partner, being with their partner, and feeling like they never get enough of their partner because their partner's the audience. They feed them. They bask in the glow of their partner's attention. And they can feel cast adrift when their partner goes off and does their own thing. However, they have little tolerance for emotions or expressions of disapproval from others. They are the emotive one in the relationship. And this causes the ENFP to resort to accusing their partner of victimizing them, taking their partner's behavior personally. So they never have to share their feelings with anybody. After all, in their palace of playfulness, everything is fun. They never do anything wrong. And it always ends up being how they have been treated by other people. Realistically, there's so many amazing things I could tell you about the ENFP performer. And if you want to know more about how they are at work, not just in their relationships, in leadership, their employee style, check out Now Fix Your Relationship, where you'll see where you can get more in-depth information on the ENFP and other personality types. But this workshop today is for anyone struggling as an ENFP or experiencing challenges with an ENFP because of their self-protective, codependent, unconscious behavior. And codependence is a lot. The codependent way of relating is primarily where the challenges lie in any relationship. We all bond in relationships, but when we have an insecure or avoidant attachment, that's how we've come out of our childhood, we do bond in a more codependent fashion, looking to our partner to meet our predominant needs for us to be happy and safe. And that means that we try and get them to act the way we need them to act so that we'll feel okay. Most of us get stuck here at this stage of relationship development, and we still have some relationship maturing to do. After all, no one ever trains us in the art of interpersonal or relationship effectiveness, do they? Think about it. What training did you ever get in your formative years on how to work through conflict or resolve issues with a partner? So the ENFP's way of bonding is to fuse and to become with their partner. And it's the ENFP who, through their behavior, demands they be at the center of the relationship that both people need to revolve around. Their bonding requires they receive deep empathy and understanding from their partner because their security, their psychological security, depends on their partner being at one with them in this state. And when they don't, the ENFP feels the pain of separation and has a really hard time not believing that their partner's victimizing them. They emphasize with their partner. They empathize with their partner, often saying, I know exactly how you feel. But then what they do is they take the conversation away from them, recounting story after story about how they may have been treated in that same way. They want to feel at all times that their partner is right there on the same page as an extension of them, but as their audience. And that doesn't mean that ENFPs can't listen, because I know a lot of ENFPs are really effective, but they have to have some development so that they can build tolerance to create space, separate space for their partner to come into. The problems they run into largely happen because once they're in the relationship, the other person's needs and emotions are more than they can handle. They have little tolerance for feeling feelings such as hurt, anxiety, helplessness, disappointment, and they tend to distract themselves from their own feelings through different activities or even self-medicating. Because of this intolerance, performers don't often look inwards at who they truly are and what they actually need, because they're more focused on receiving that external validation to fill their needs. And they can struggle to share themselves with their partners because they simply don't know what their own needs are. And if the ENFP gets negative attention from their partner, hey, it's still attention. Even better if their partner takes over and does things for them so they don't have to do these things. If this is the only way for them to be recognized, they'll keep doing it. And this is how they end up staying dependent on their partners. It can be quite baffling for the ENFP's partners and friends to really understand why they present themselves in such a devalued, negative way at times. But they don't like to be ignored, and they won't be ignored. And so they're really clever and ultimately find ways to be recognized, which may include complaining about themselves to get positive support, provoking conflict by calling their partner out, or trying even harder to please their partner until they notice them. Anything to be the center of attention and the center of their partner's world. Unfortunately, many ENFPs are held back and vilified for taking center stage or needing attention, as I mentioned earlier. They're ignored, judged, or told they need to make space for others because they are too much. And people shame them. And I can't tell you the number of clients I've had that have had to recover and develop from the shame of being told from the time they were little to be small, to not take up so much space, to not be so loud, to not be so excited and exuberant about things. And especially by those who are more practical and security oriented. They accuse the ENFP of being out of touch with reality. But because ENFPs, they love making and creating and performing, making them big, bold, and beautiful, but accused of being impractical, flighty, and irresponsible. And this is absolutely not the case. However, it does bring us, and when they start believing it because it's been part of their conditioning and programming, they really get stuck in this place. So it brings us to the first relationship challenge their partner and others have with the ENFP. These are very ambitious and competitive people. And what they end up doing is they end up competing with their partner covertly for the spotlight. They don't always own it, but they're competitive. They love to win. And unfortunately, they do have that tendency to compete with their partner. Sometimes they'll even get competitive about who's had the worst day. Their partner comes home and says, for example, oh, I've had a terrible day. My colleague threw me under the bus at our monthly leadership meeting. And the ENFP, in their over-empathetic response, says, how awful. Well, you think your day was bad. Let me tell you about 3 of the worst things that happened to me before lunch. So you see that hijacking of the conversation, but they do start with empathy. They don't do well in relationships where there's competition for center stage. So we never really recommend that unless you're truly evolved and individuated. 2 ENFPs in a relationship together can be in a constant state of fighting for center stage. Think about their need for recognition as a hunger that must be fed, as are all of our predominant needs. When it's not, they actually feel starved for attention, and they resort, as I said earlier, to getting it in negative ways. If they can't be the best of the best, they will be the worst of the worst, becoming diva-like in their behavior, demanding attention by becoming dramatic, emotional, sometimes about the most inconsequential or smallest things. So if you have an ENFP as your partner, you may have had the experience of them withdrawing or becoming disinterested if you're getting too much attention. This frustrates their need for recognition. And while they want the very best for their partner, they don't typically enjoy sharing the spotlight with them. In social situations, their partner's supposed to be their silent partner. So here's a tip to deal with this one. You need to hold your ground. Partners of ENFPs often report walking on eggshells around them and giving in to them for fear of an emotional event. One of my clients says, I've learned to just shut up when they start going at me for thinking I'm the big man, just because I talked about the success of my business in some way. Once she runs out of steam, I go to bed. And so you see that dismissing and not paying attention to the ENFPs. This is actually the worst strategy you can use, as the ENFP needs you to tell them when they didn't get their needs met and are upset, so that they can start working on and changing their behavior, and telling them they aren't ever allowed to take it out on you ever. They have the habit of projecting onto you what they want. And in the case of my client, it's his partner that wanted to be in the position of the big man. And so that accusation wounded him at the expense of the relationship. ENFPs really need firm boundaries, kindness, and to help them with get their feet anchored with you in reality. Challenge number 2 is a similar, it's all about me. And they have a way of personalizing anything that's going on, or taking anything you say and making it about them. Remember, in the relationship, when they're codependent, they need to be the center of your universe, with you orbiting around them. And therefore, your behavior always has something to do with them, and it reflects on them. It's the way their brain works. They hear something and they self-refer, making even the most obscure things about themselves. Sometimes it seems like they're more interested in getting you to be their audience than actually listening to you. And because they have the ability to keep expanding everything they're doing and talking about, the more they talk about themselves, the more they want to talk about themselves, and the less likely they are to listen. They're the type of people, you remember that old joke, enough about me, tell me, what do you think about me? They're masters at directing conversation back to themselves so that they get their need to be center stage met. So the tip for this one is, again, we're not powerless in any of our relationships. We can, use a hand gesture, bring the conversation back to ourselves. Don't be afraid to hold up your hand and say, I'm sorry, must have thought I had finished. Or, before we go on, can we spend some more time on what I was talking about, as I need your insight. Don't get mad at them or shame them for being their natural expansive self and doing that self-referring thing. And make sure you identify their passive aggressive negative ways when they try to get attention from you. If they do that, if they are starting to become the worst of the worst, discuss these things briefly, including how they might alert you to their need for attention without resorting to picking a fight and getting dramatic. That will help them get more in touch with their needs. And the third challenge is that these people, they need to feel special. They need to be recognized. And ENFPs are certainly one of the most romantic of all of the personality types because of their flair for the dramatic and their desire to do things that make occasions special for themselves and their partner. This is their romance style. They're likely to go above and beyond in the show of romance. Long drives, walks on the beach, romantic dancing, candlelight, all of the accoutrements that are, part of staging, part of that making their partners feel like they're in a movie, on a movie set. And public displays of affection aren't uncommon for these people. So all of these things make them feel special. The ever expansive, imaginative ENFP is never, ever content to be ordinary. And they need their partner to recognize their specialness. So a simple, you're the best, is something that their partner needs to have handy whenever the ENFP has done something for them. The use of superlatives in describing their behavior, amazing, fantastic, that's the best ever. All of those ways of talking that match the way the ENFP talks. Because they like to feel special, here's the downside. They can act like they're above attending to the mundane things like cleaning the house and paying the bills. And after all, they are the prince or the princess of the Magical Palace of Playfulness, and they expect their partner to take care of these things for them. At the very least, they expect you to get a cleaning service. So ENFP's need for recognition, as we said, is their hunger. It's a driving force. And it's easily met by making them feel special, but at the same time, holding them accountable. Don't let them off the hook. Mundane tasks are best done together where you can chat and enjoy your time. They need help to keep up with their responsibilities, or they run the risk of creating chaos in their homes and for you in your home and their social life by flitting from one thing to another, saying yes to any invitation that makes them feel recognized, even when they don't want to go. They'll just say yes because of the feeling it gives them. Most performers have an extravagant idea of what they think they're capable of. They think that if something's possible, they should be able to do it. However, in reality, they cannot do anything. So really flag this. Should they be reluctant when you tell them they're overreaching, remind them of other things that they'll be doing to get their needs met that will be fun. Remind them about the last time and that they gave you permission to hold their feet to the ground. You have to go parental on them sometimes, as they are like kids in the candy store. So if you want to know more, we've got so many resources for you to really mine on our Now Fix Your Relationship website to find out more about the relationship style of the ENFP, the relationship report for the performer, and going and getting our relationship toolkit for the ENFP, which includes an in-depth video training on all things ENFP. These are resources that are also available for you on our YouTube channel, Dranitsaris-Hilliard. There's so much more to be learned about all of the other 16 personality types. Remember, we're hosting a LinkedIn Live episode for each of the 16 types throughout our Relationship Empowerment Month, as I said at the beginning. Join us tomorrow to find out about the INFP, the artist in the striving style system, the introverted feeling type, and some tips on how to deal with them in relationship. And if you can't make our live episode, hop over to Now Fix Your Relationship to access all the posts and recordings, as well as to check out our schedule for the remainder of the month. If you're experiencing relationship issues, contact us for a consultation. We provide coaching and other resources for anyone struggling in relationships, parenting, careers, and leadership. All aspects of your life, we have you covered. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope I've deepened your understanding of this magical ENFP personality type and given you some insight into how you can deepen your understanding of them and sort through issues in your relationship. Bye for now.